Hello and welcome back to the National League Rugby Preview Show, Round 9's edition, powered by Talking Rugby Union. Well, we had a break in play last weekend, didn't we? So we hope you're all feeling refreshed and ready for November's block of fixtures as we accelerate towards the Christmas period. Because after this weekend, believe it or not, we will be a third of the way through the campaign. So a massive thank you to everyone who has supported us so far. But more importantly, a massive thank you to those who have attended a National League Rugby game so far this season, because essentially that is what we're trying to do here at National League Rugby with the preview show and all the content that we produce across our multimedia channels. It's to get more eyes on and more people interested in National League Rugby by gearing up to the weekend's action and also featuring all 56 of our clubs in one way or another throughout the course of the campaign. So if you are one of those people who've attended a National League Rugby game so far this season, we know that the club you attended, the club you watched, will be massively appreciative of your support, and we hope that continues as the season resumes this coming weekend. Just because we didn't have a show last week, we just wanted to say quick thanks to Tynedale and Bournemouth for appearing on round 8's instalment of the National League Rugby Preview Show. And if you did miss that particular episode or any of the content that we produced so far this term, it is all available on our YouTube channel. So don't forget to like our channel, like the videos, share all of our content on there, and also remember to hit the subscribe button for our National League Rugby YouTube channel. It is free to do and it takes you just a few seconds to do so. And a big thanks to those who have done that during the first 8 rounds of the season. But what fireworks should we be expecting for round 9? Well, actually, the action begins on Friday night when National One's Rosslyn Park, one of the sides to kick things off for us. They host Bishop Stortford under the Friday night lights at the Rock, and Park are one of our featured clubs this week on the National League Rugby Preview Show. And we actually chatted to a few of their first 15 players about the Friday night occasion, but also what it is like for a player in a semi-professional team. So a little bit of a different angle this week. Very interesting as well, but more to come on that shortly and later on when we focus on National 1. We'll also be featuring National 2 West Old Redcllffians in round 9 as they host league leaders Camborne. Over the National 2 North's Leeds Tykes, Old Redcllffians are currently on the longest unbeaten run in the league at home across the top 4 tiers of the English rugby pyramid. It is 14 straight wins at Scotland Lane for Old Redcliffians. A fantastic record, one I know they're really proud of, but as the club will tell you, they are much more than just a brilliant sequence of results at Scotland Lane. So later on in the show, we'll be catching up with Director of Rugby Dan Cox, as well as a couple of the first 15 players to get more of an insight into Old Reds, as well as building up to the visit of Camborne this weekend. But we start, as we always do, in National 1, where we begin November with just 2 teams still unbeaten in the shape of Rams and Richmond. And we said before round 8 that a trip to Plymouth Albion might have acted as a litmus test for league leaders Rams, and they were certainly tested last time out at Brickfield. Seb Reynolds' troops produced some huge defensive sets to keep Plymouth out, whilst also showing a clinical edge to make it 8 wins from 8 after securing a 21-16 victory down in Devon. As for second place Richmond, they've won 7 of their first 8 games, and their quality needed to shine through again last time out against Bishop Stortford. Bishop Stortford yet again causing problems for a side in the top 3, but after a quick start from Stortford, Richmond eventually wrestled the game back in their favour to record a 43-31 win. And so the top 2 sides will be looking to continue their really, really strong starts to the season in November. And something fun before we take a look at the table in National 1, following their 36-24 win away at Sedgley Park in round 8. Some of Blackheath's players bumped into a familiar face on their way back to London in the form of Oasis's Noel Gallagher. Blackheath was certainly rock and roll mauling stars last time out. Their power up front sealing a 5th win of this season. Yeah, that pun isn't my best work, and there's certainly room for improvements on that front. But anyway, let's just have a quick look at the National 1 table heading into this weekend, where confirmation that Rams and Richmond are still yet to taste defeat, with Blackheath moving into the top 5 last time out. Down at the other end, Darlington Moden Park remain at the bottom, but once again, they were in the contest against 9th place Dings in round 8, only to see the Crusaders pull away from them in the last 10 minutes. So they are still searching for their first win, but that winning feeling hasn't evaded 4th place Rosslyn Park too much this season. After 3 defeats to actually begin the campaign, Kieran Power's side resumed the season on a 5-match winning run, which will take into this Friday evening's clash with Bishop Stortford. Now, Park are one of our featured clubs this week on the National League Rugby Preview Show, and it is a squad stacked with talent and also stacked with experience, with quite a few of their players having played higher up the English rugby pyramid. So we chatted to Captain Arthur Ellis, who once upon a time was at Wasps and Ealing, as well as back row duo Jack Digby, who was at Doncaster Knights in the Championship last season, and Archie Hosking, who used to be in the Exeter Chiefs system, to find out what makes Rosslyn Park and National 1 such an attractive proposition for a player. Plus, we discussed the season so far for Park and also the experience of playing under the Friday night lights at the Rock.
Yeah, we didn't really hit the ground running like we wanted to. I think we did have quite a pretty tough start. Rotherham away, newly promoted team, and they probably do belong in this league or even above, they'll say. So yeah, they were awesome. They fully deserved their victory. And then yeah, it's a bit of a shame to lose 2 close local derbies. Richmond was a bit of a dagger in the heart, last minute drop goal. I wish England had that on Saturday, but yeah, no, it was pretty classy from the fly half to win that one. So yeah, I mean, look, didn't start how we wanted it, but we bounced back pretty well. Yeah, like you said, to win 5 in a row is yeah, things are all going in the right direction.
From where we are and we finished that block, I think we're pretty happy. We're always sort of trying to improve, and obviously an 0-3 start is not really what you want for any team, especially with what the sort of the vibe around the group with preseason and how we were sort of tracking. But I know there's there's a big maybe a stereotype around Rosslyn Park that we want to throw the ball around and to the detriment of all else. And yes, that's we definitely do. We want to play to our strengths. We have an amazing back line. We have really mobile pack, and we want to move the ball around, especially on home at 4G. But I think finding ways to win ugly and win boring have been really important for us. And yes, you want to have an identity. Yes, you can't lose sight of that identity. But then different teams pose different challenges and different conditions. I know we're getting into the less fun weather-wise conditions, especially as an Australian. But that's where you have to win ugly. You have to make sure that your basics and what you do well is really important.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there, Jack. Obviously, and people listening to you can probably tell by your accent that you are from Australia, and you've obviously played a bit of rugby over there. As I mentioned before, you were in the Championship. So, what kind of drew you to Rosslyn Park and National 1? Because it certainly isn't the weather that we're getting at the moment.
yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I was getting to a point in my career. I think the Championship's a pretty unforgiving league at times. And looking to not getting any younger and looking at other options of moving about and still really enjoying my rugby. So I think you can lose sight of why you play a little bit when it becomes your job, when it becomes a very sort of insular type environment. So having a bit of perspective and having a bit of you play because you love it. So a couple of friends that I played with at Ealing who've sort of thrived at Park, and from pretty much the first 2-3 weeks of training, everyone was really, really, warm and welcoming to me, and it's sort of it's a bit of it is a family.
Whilst as Exeter managed to kind of play a couple games in the Chiefs setup, just in the Prem Cup, so it's pretty fortunate to do that, and kind of I guess afterwards looking for opportunities. So actually ended up going to Australia last year. But no, I've known quite a few of the guys at Rosslyn Park for a few years. My brother was down here as well, so a few of his mates are down. So kind of coming back to London was kind of only logical step really. And like I said, we've obviously got an amazing group, and everyone's really cohesive, like socially. So I think you can get lost in the weeds a little bit, kind of jump around, like you said, but definitely when you go to a club where the community and like the social aspect is really strong, then it's like it makes it a lot easier to stay and want to stick around. So yeah, no, definitely loving playing every week, and it's a great club to be a part of.
National One is, it's part-time, it's not professional, and I think a lot of players get caught up in that professional level, and then the pressure is really on them. And I think Rosslyn Park's a great place where, you see a lot of really good players who might have struggled, or had a tough year in the league above. They come here, they get the kind of shackles taken off them, they can enjoy themselves a little bit more, they feel a bit freer. That constant pressure of professional rugby, when it's actually your kind of livelihood, can be pretty tough on some people. So yeah, I mean, I think Rosslyn Park's a great stepping stone. We are pretty close to the city. There's quite a few boys that work in the city. I think we give a good halfway house of seriously good competitive rugby, and also, yeah, you can get a decent job and work hard at the same time. We are a really tight knit group, and that's a lot down to kind of the coaches, and Kieran Powers in particular. It's something that he drives all the time. We want to get around each other. We want to be with each other, and enjoying ourselves as much as possible. And like you say, at the end of the day, it's a really big commitment, and if you're not enjoying that commitment, then what's the point in doing it? So that's something that is really driven, especially by Powers, and yeah, we really do try and stay together and enjoy it as much as possible.
Yeah, and I forgot to ask you this, Arthur, before we hit record. So if this is wrong, do pick me up on it. But I was speaking to Josh on Friday, and we talked about the commitment to the club. But he said that you'd flown back from Portugal, if that's right, for the Leicester Lions game.
Yeah, I had a bit of a nightmare.
Commitment. That is commitment.
Yeah, I had a bit of a nightmare. I was in Portugal on a very tough work golf trip. Then, yeah, my flight got cancelled on the Friday night, so I had to book another one on the Saturday morning. And then that got delayed. So yeah, landed at Gatwick, had to go get my car, and then drive straight to Leicester, and missed the first 20 minutes. But yeah, did come on eventually, so it wasn't the end of the world. But yeah, we got the win, so it made it all worth it.
I mean, that is the love for the club right there, Arthur.
Yeah, well, yeah, got to try.
Gotta try. And just in terms of this Friday night against Bishop Stortford, and you've been at the club for a number of years, Arthur. Friday night games, do they hit differently with you guys as players? And you said there, everyone's got the commitments during the week, but when it gets to maybe Friday lunchtime, is it all focus going into a Friday night, especially when you're at home as well?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, firstly, thank you for Bishop Stortford agreeing to do it on a Friday night, because that's a bit of trouble for some of those boys. Some of them might be having to take half days. But I mean, yeah, look, I think at Rosslyn, we always try and ask other teams for Friday night games. We love them, I think a lot of fans love them. You get a lot of mates down there watching it on a Friday night. It's a great atmosphere. Hopefully it'll be nice weather. Hopefully it'll be a great game. And yeah, we all do love playing in them, and it sets the weekend off right.
The crowd that gets down on a Friday night is we had a pre-season against Barnes on a Friday night, and that was pretty exciting. It's pretty special. So I think we've definitely been we've been really trying to push for more people to come in and see the brand of rugby that we're playing, because it's an exciting and really, really fun to watch style. So I think we'll have a good outcome, or hopefully have a good outcome on Friday. And then I think the more people that see that on Friday night, it just makes it all the better product for the National League and for Rosslyn Park.
But luckily, I'll be able to work from home on Friday, so won't be too tired. And then the club's pretty local to me, so yeah, definitely. I've been looking forward to it all week really. And then even the week before when we had the week off, it's definitely like a a fixture throughout the season that you're eyeing up and looking for.
Yeah, and obviously you said there it's obviously going to be a great occasion, but Bishop Stortford are no mugs, are they, Archie? They've played some really big teams in the last sort of 3 rounds. I think the top 3 sides have actually played, gave Richmond and Rams a hard time. They beat Rotherham away from home. So I guess, the talk so far this week within the group is you're not going to be taking them lightly, are you?
No, definitely not. I mean, definitely when you play them away right there, they've always been a tough side. So I think I played them away last year and it was a big scrap. So hopefully kind of on our surface it suits us a little bit more. We can kind of just play our own game and we're really kind of looking to execute maybe similar attack wise as we did with Dings. So we'll have to take them seriously for sure, but definitely focusing on ourselves and what we can do.
Rotherham away, Rams and Richmond, they are and probably us are now, I'd say, the 4 hardest fixtures in the league, especially when you're playing at their places. And to come away with really good results there and even a win is we're definitely not taking them for granted and underestimating them because, like you said, it's still early enough in the season that things can start building and they've got a little bit of a roll on. We've got a little bit of momentum, so it'll be really interesting to see how we go.
So a big thanks to Arthur, Jack and Archie for their time there. A formidable back row trio for Rosslyn Park this season, and they'll be keen for that to continue on Friday night against Bishop Stortford. And the club have promoted this game on Friday exceptionally well across their social media channels and on their website. So if you do fancy kicking off your rugby weekend at the Rock, do visit the link below for tickets, and there is also the pre-match dinner offering before the game as well. A link to that is in the description of the video, so if you are interested in making it a proper evening out of the rugby, you can definitely have a look into that pre-match dinner. And of course you can also buy a ticket for the game if you are that way inclined. It should be an ideal way to begin your weekend. And there is also another Friday night game in National 1 with Richmond hosting 7th place Birmingham Moseley. It was a tough October for the visitors, just 1 win in the last 4, and their tricky run of fixtures against sides towards the top of the table continues in round 9. On to Saturday then, where there are just 5 games in National 1, and we stay in the capital with Blackheath hosting a Sale FC side who entered a month on the back of successive wins against Darlington, Moden Park and Esher. And it does feel like a big afternoon for Darlington Moden Park themselves on Saturday. The division's bottom club welcomed 12th place Leicester Lions to the northeast. The away side have picked up just 1 win so far this term, and both clubs continue to show bagfuls of character during the course of the season. But who will come out on top in round 9? Should be a big game, that one, actually, at Darlington Moden Park. Esher, who sits second from bottom at the moment, may well have an eye on that DMP versus Leicester Lions clash. Peter Winterbottom's side travel to Leicester Lions next week, but first up they'll be fully focused on welcoming Dings Crusaders to Molesey Road. League leaders Rams have some very interesting fixtures to come against possible title rivals between now and Christmas, but they will be fully switched on. Their attention will be firmly on making it 9 from 9 when 11th place Sedgley Park visit Old Bath Road on Saturday. And we finish with Rotherham Titans versus Plymouth Albion. The Titans will be delighted with their first portion of the season as they currently occupy 3rd spot in the standings, while Albion have the tools to be a top 4 side. And victory at Clifton Lane in the first meeting between the teams for nearly 5 years would certainly spark their campaign back into life after suffering back-to-back defeats at the end of October. On to National 2 North now, where this week we were joined by the Rugby Papers reporter Ben Cropper. Now, Ben currently reports on Leeds Tykes for the Rugby Paper, and he also writes for the club website as well. And Ben got in touch with us ahead of what is set to be a big weekend in National 2 North, with 2nd place Leeds Tykes travelling to league leaders Lim in a top of the table battle. So plenty to get stuck into with Ben. So Ben wanted to share his thoughts ahead of this mammoth fixture in National 2 North, and we also look ahead to the rest of the action. Yeah, great to have you on this week, Ben. And it feels like this weekend there's a big one with 2nd place Tykes travelling to league leaders Lim in round 9 for a top of the table clash. But before we get into that, Ben, obviously you would have focused on the team last year, that epic title race with Rotherham Titans. So what has the mood been like during the first, 8 weeks of the season for Leeds Tykes? What has their focus been?
I think very much so. The focus is more about just focusing on our own game and letting the outside noise take care of itself. I mean, I think a lot of outsiders and casual observers would obviously be expecting us to have a bit of a hangover from last season, but largely from what I've seen and heard about the players, the attitude is very much about putting last season behind us, and albeit in a cliched way, just taking one game at a time. And I certainly think, as a reporter and part of the club's voluntary media team, that that's working for Pete Seymour and his men, because they're rather efficiently going about their business. I think we went into the season as bookies favourites, and everyone expected us to do really well this year. But I think there's so much competition in the league and so many good sides now that are improving all the time, that the attitude within the Tykes camp is very much one of collective cohesion and togetherness, and we'll let the league table take care of itself, and what will be at the end of the season, as it were.
Yeah, it's a great point you make there, Ben, about sort of, some people may have expected Leeds to just march off into the sunset and pick up from where they left off last year and be a dominant force. But I guess the last 2 games that Leeds have been involved in, which I know you've watched closely, Ben, probably echoes the point you make there. Obviously, the last 2 wins they picked up was Sheffield away, which was a really hard-fought victory. And even at home against Preston Grasshoppers in round 8, with Leeds winning 35-29, they had to work extremely hard to get over the line. So do you think that is keeping the minds focused within the Leeds Tykes camp, Ben?
Well, I'll take both of those games in turn, if I may, and just say that the squad that played against Preston Grasshoppers was a heavily rotated squad, and I got the impression from speaking to the coaches before and after the game that some of that was forced due to injury and due to the tough battle, as it were, at Abdale Park, where we scraped through by the narrowest of margins. But everyone knows what a tough place Abdale Park is to go and win. And then moving forward to the Preston Grasshoppers game, I like I said, that was a heavily rotated squad, and I also think, maybe this is naive and maybe this is me wearing my supporters hat a bit too much, that maybe we'll have a few boys or a few irons in the fire waiting in the wings to spring a few surprises on Lim. And but I guess we'll only find out the truth of that when the official team sheet is submitted on Saturday lunchtime.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. You're building up the excitement nicely there, giving us, looking back on those last 2 games and also looking ahead to the Lim game on Saturday. As me and Ben have spoken about there, Lim do come into this top of the table clash. They are the league leaders at present, and only Tunbridge Judeans in National 2 East have picked up 40 points from 40 as well. So a 100% record for Lim, and they managed to maintain that. Last time out, they were 18-7 down actually at half-time against Hull in round 8, but they managed to turn things around to claim victory, and it's a big tick in the box for the Cheshire side going into this weekend's game against Leeds Tykes. So just to confirm the current standings in National 2 North, as myself and Ben have touched on, Lim lead the way at the moment with Leeds just a single point behind them, and down at the bottom of the table, Sheffield Tigers claimed a crucial first win of the campaign last time out, beating 12th placed Harrogate 34-33, meaning Tynedale slipped to the foot of the standings in round 8. Tyne actually fell to a 45-22 loss against Fylde. But Ben, I know we've talked about Leeds and Lim in a top of the table meeting so far, but it also feels like a big weekend at the bottom of the division with Sheffield Tigers and Tyndale meeting on Saturday. I know Leeds Tykes have already faced Tyndale this season, but it does feel like a huge fixture for both Tyndale and Sheffield Tigers, doesn't it, going into the weekend?
Yeah, that feels equally huge for entirely different reasons. It feels like a classic, to use a football cliche, it's a 6-pointer. So I guess in rugby terms, you could consider it a 10-pointer given the free scoring nature of National 2 North this season. And I'd just like to say that when I saw Tyndale earlier in the season, I thought I didn't expect them to be where they are now, because I thought at times they put some really good stuff together. So it's a real surprise to me, and I think certainly from their perspective, the league table belies the truth of some of their performances.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Ben. I think both Tyndale and Sheffield Tigers' league position might actually not be a true reflection on how both sides have performed this year. I know Tyndale had a good start against Fylde last time out, but just couldn't quite continue that. And Sheffield Tigers did get the first win against Harrogate, but they've very much been in games against Lim and Sheffield and other teams this season so far. So it does feel like a big game at Dormoor on Saturday, which is never, ever an easy place to go. So let's just have a quick look at the rest of the fixtures for round 9 then. And Hull, who we touched on earlier, who tested Lim last time out, they go to Chester looking to begin November on the front foot. Fylde, one of the form teams in the division at the moment, 5 wins in a row now after achieving that victory over Tyndale in round 8. They take on Otley this weekend at Woodlands. Hull Ionians versus Harrogate. Well, Hull Ionians will be hoping to turn their fortunes around a little bit after 4 defeats in their last 5 games, but they have picked up bonus points, but they'll be keen to turn that into victories when they take on Harrogate at Brantington Park. Lim versus Leeds, we've touched on. Preston versus Billingham, as we chatted about with Ben. Preston Grasshoppers didn't lie down against Leeds last time out, and Dan Orwin's troops may have wished for more, but the 6th place side will be looking to continue an encouraging start at home to Billingham. Sheffield versus Wharfdale is 3rd versus 5th at Aberdale Park. That should be a really good contest, especially with Sheffield bouncing back in round 8 with a 45-10 victory away at Billingham, while Wharfdale come into this game on the back of 2 successive victories. And as myself and Ben have just chatted about, Sheffield Tigers versus Tyndale, the battle of the bottom 2 takes place this weekend at Dormoor. So over to National 2 East now, and like in National 2 North, there is one club who is yet to put a foot wrong this term, and that is table toppers Tunbridge Julians, who carry a 100% record into November after 8 bonus point wins from 8. They maintain their brilliant start to the term with another storming second half display against Westcombe Park last time out, which helped them to a 45 victory at the Slade, and they are the only side yet to taste defeat across the whole of National 2 East, and they were joined actually in the winners' lounge by for the first time this season by Sevenoaks in round 8. Adam Bowman's side opening their account with a 43-29 win over Oxford Harlequins, and it was a day to remember for skipper Scott Sedgwick. He marked his 200th appearance for the club with a hat-trick, which helped his side to a first victory of the campaign. And there was also this fantastic picture on Sevenoaks' Instagram story of Director of Rugby Adam Bowman seemingly checking his phone to find out the score, whilst also being at a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and he would have been delighted when the score did pop up on his phone and it said a Sevenoaks victory, and that is exactly what it meant to Sevenoaks as a club to get off the mark in round 8. And just before we go into sort of the fixtures and the tables for National 2 East heading into round 9, there was one other headline to bring you from the division, and that is that last week bottom club Colchester parted ways with boss Craig Burrows after what they described as a difficult start to the season. The Raven Park club have picked up only 4 points from the first 8 games of the campaign. And despite a spirited second half display against third place Dorking last time out, the decision was made last week that the club would part ways with Burrows at Colchester, and it means forwards coach and ex-Northampton Saint Mikey Haywood has taken interim charge. So it'll be interesting to see whether Colchester can have a change in fortunes between now and the end of this mini block of fixtures that we do have in November. So let's just have a look at the table then. And as we said, Tunbridge Julians yet to take a backward step, and they lead the chasing pack by 3 points. At the other end, Colchester and Worthing occupy the bottom two spots, with both hoping their first victories of the season can come in November. So on to the fixtures, where the standout is arguably Tunbridge Julians visiting fourth placed Barnes. Barnes have won their last 8 home games, a run which actually started against TJ's last December. So can Jack Heald's improving side extend that sequence and become the first team to beat the league leaders this term? Next up, Bury St Edmunds versus Havant. The hosts so close to a 4th win in a row last time out, only to be denied by another late show at second place Guernsey Raiders. But Jacob Ford's side are certainly moving in the right direction now, and they welcome Havant to Suffolk in round 9. Dorking are one of the teams which are carrying momentum into this weekend. 7 straight wins for Armand Roux's side now, and they entertained Sevenoaks on Saturday, who, as we've just said, received a massive boost in round 8 with that victory over Oxford Harlequins. 5th place Henley Hawks had a productive October and enter this month off the back of 3 straight victories, so they will provide a stern test for a Guernsey side who, not for the first time this season, snatched a dramatic victory, didn't they, in round 8 as they edged past Bury St Edmunds 36-35 following a late Liam Welsh try. So that should be a really intriguing game between Henley and Guernsey on Saturday afternoon. Old Albanian versus Canterbury, both clubs looking to respond after back-to-back defeats to end October, and it also feels like another big afternoon towards the bottom of the table in National 2 East, with 11th placed Oxford Harlequins hosting Worthing. Now, Worthing continue to scoop up bonus points, but it's a first win of the season is what they will be craving, and whether that can come this weekend against Oxford Harlequins, we'll have to wait and see. And the same can be said for Colchester, who head to Goddington Dean in round 9 to face 9th place Westcombe Park as they too seek a first victory of the campaign. And finally, we return to National 2 West, where out of all the current table toppers in National League Rugby, Camborne have the biggest cushion at the summit. After 7 wins from their first 8 games, they lead the way by 7 points after eventually shrugging off Exeter University in round 8. They scored 6 unanswered tries in the second half to seal a 54-24 win. But below Camborne, there's a lot of clubs jostling for position in these early stages of the season, and Taunton moved up to second spot in round 8 after coming out on top against Cinderford 28-17. Both clubs, of course, came down from National 1 last term, but after soaking up waves of Cinderford pressure, Taunton were able to claim a 5th win in a row. So just to show you the state of play in National 2 West then, and as we said, Camborne are the front runners, but then just 6 points separate the rest of the top half as we begin the second third of the season. So it is really tight at the moment in National 2 West. At the bottom, Devonport Services, who of course are a fully amateur side at this level, do prop up the division with just 4 bonus points to their name, with Hinckley and Macclesfield the closest side to them in the table. But our attention in National 2 West this week is towards the top of the standings, with 5th placed Old Redcliffians hosting league leaders Camborne at Scotland Lane. And Old Reds are our second featured club this week on the National League Rugby preview show, and their home record has been nothing short of phenomenal. It's 14 straight wins in a row now at Scotland Lane for Dan Cox's side, and it's a run of form which goes back to October last year, and it was certainly a major factor in the Bristol outfit finishing in a very commendable 4th place last term. But they will tell you, at Old Redcliffians, that it's that they are far more than just an excellent sequence of results at home. So we caught up with Director of Rugby Dan Cox, as well as a few of the first team players, to find out a little bit more about the club, their progression in National 2 West over the last couple of seasons, and also, of course, their thoughts on hosting league leaders Camborne on Saturday.
I think 17 years ago, the club was in Somerset 1. And like Hornets were also at the same level, so it's that, they got a similar story. But the club was in Somerset 1, and to put that into perspective, our second team are now 2 leagues above that level. So like for the whole club, it's been quite a journey. They'd flirted with the National League. They'd been in the National League 2 for a couple of seasons. When I took over, they'd been relegated after having a couple of years fighting near the bottom. But when I took over 5 years ago, the club had actually been relegated at all 3 senior levels. So they've been relegated at first team level, second team and third team level. And actually that was the COVID season. So I took over in the March. And then, my first season was interrupted by COVID. So we had the world's longest pre-season, like a year-long pre-season. But I'll caveat that with that I actually think it was really positive for the club, because all of the negatives of those triple relegations and we had some financial struggles as well. By the time we came back post-COVID, we had attracted some new players. We had re-engaged a load of ex-players, and we had a great community feel because we'd done so much over COVID together. So I think that's where the club really kind of started this turnaround in its fortunes.
I think completely echo that. I think Coxie and the team, the coaching group around that, have built like a fantastic group of players and coaching staff over the past few years. I think we're slowly reaping the rewards. Obviously, finishing 4th last year in the National League, could have potentially got to 3rd if a few of the extra points went our way. So I think we're actually reaping the rewards of all that hard work pre and post COVID.
I've been at the club since I was like 6 years old. Had a couple of sabbaticals with other clubs, so Cinderford and Weston-super-Mare. So it's pretty much been man and boy, and the change in the coaching staff. I mean, I take my hat off to what Dan Cox and Geraint have done. They really have got the team singing perfectly, scoring a lot of tries. You've probably seen the results, conceding quite a lot of tries as well recently. So we're working hard on that. But I think the level of professionalism that has changed has probably been one of the main reasons why we've done so well. We don't have loads of money, so that is something that we don't chuck money at players. Everyone gets the same amount, and we kind of work as a group of players rather than having like a bit of elitism in the team.
Well, you just got to look at sort of the age group of pretty much the whole playing squad. Apart from a few of us, they're all like early 20s, and they're all keen to be a part of Old Reds, and they all want to stay here. No one's really moved on, and I'd say we're probably overachieving at the moment. Definitely with the sort of how young the players are, and the budget that we have got is mad to think that little Old Reds, that however many years ago we were in Somerset Prem, and now our 2s play above Somerset Prem. So it's sort of unbelievable from where we have actually come.
We've got a very, very young team, but it's the culture. Coxie and G have basically implemented that we want to be the best club to play rugby at in Bristol, and I strongly believe they've done that. It's probably it is the best environment that I've been involved in over my 20 years playing rugby. I've been in some pretty toxic environments, even at Old Reds. It was different, and there is a real good strong culture at the club. The attractment is brotherhood. And that's a word that Coxie is implements into pretty much everything we do, in the brotherhood and supporting the man on the left, supporting the man on your right. And I think it's exciting, and that's what's kept me playing for this long. I'm going for 200 caps this year at national level. I don't actually know how many I've got for Old Reds, but at national level, 200 caps, and the brotherhood is what excites me.
Me and a group of senior leaders in the committee, we spoke about kind of what we wanted our club identity to be. We aren't finance rich. We speak about that, often. We're not finance rich, but we are good people rich. There's a lot of really good people in the club, and they make Old Reds what it is, really. And we had a 5-year plan, if you like, to get back to the National League, and then the restructure of the leagues. Actually, I think we finished second in the league below, and all of a sudden we're swooped up. 1 year into the 5-year plan, and you know, we kept a lot of those players, and a lot of those players had been at the club in the relegations as well. And yeah, we just, when we came back into the National League, it was about surviving and being sustainable, really. And then I think we surpassed our own expectations and probably those of everyone else in the first 2 seasons. You know, it's, for us, it's when we're a club that hasn't got the finance to potentially, you know, go and really make these blockbuster signings that some other clubs are. Well, actually, like, I think having a really happy playing squad of people is probably more powerful. And that's not to say we always get it right, you know, but we're definitely trying to get it right.
Yeah, and I guess off the field as well, Dan, that was probably highlighted more so than most with the hashtag Try for Ellis campaign that I know Old Redcliffians were very much behind at the start of the year. For those who don't know, Old Reds prop Ellis Joseph was diagnosed with leukemia at the start of the year and needed to find a bone marrow match for a transplant. I think you said as well, Dan, it seemed to really galvanise not just Old Redcliffians, but the rugby community in general. So just tell us a little bit about the impact that the whole situation had on the club and how much it did bring everyone together in the community.
Yeah, it absolutely phenomenal, to be honest. It's definitely makes me a little bit emotional thinking back to the start of it. But it's probably the worst news that any rugby club could get, right, is that one of your members is that ill. And Ellis is a really special player to the club. You know, he's a National League centurion. He's 26 years old. He's kind of one of the heartbeats socially of the club. And yeah, you know, we were just thinking, when's he going to get back on the field, and when's he going to, you know, get his boots on and galvanise that scrum. So to be hit with that news was really tough. And we definitely met as a committee and coaches and senior leaders a lot to go, actually, this could go either way. Like, players might check out of this, and you know, that's okay. Everyone feels different, but you know, we could also galvanise. And actually, what we've seen was a whole club come together to really kind of get behind the man and his family and push things forward. But then what then transpired from the community was unbelievable, and not just the Bristol community. Like, we had celebrities across the country, you know, sharing our message, and we had Anthony Nolan and ACLT charity recording record numbers of sign-ups to the bone marrow register. And you know, we held some events ourselves, but then we had universities reaching out, and they're picking up 200, 400 people signing up, and they don't know Ellis. I mean, they just know that Ellis is a rugby player in Bristol. That's all that was needed to know. So yeah, really, really special. And like, you know, lots of that work still going on. You know, ultimately Ellis, he doesn't need a bone marrow transplant at the moment, so he's undergoing kind of a different pathway to his treatment, but people are still signing up.
The way that the club rallied, and how they got a campaign going off of the ground, and they've put thousands of people on the stem cell register. I actually heard the other day that someone who is registered through the campaign has actually been used now for a transplant on somebody else. So it's done massive. I think, you know, it's done massive for Ellis, definitely, and it's also helping other people. And that's just rugby, though. I think rugby drives together and comes together a little bit different. There's a different environment in rugby than what there is other sports, and I think that's the reason why we love it so much, Chris.
I think seeing him up on the sideline, when you look across and he's still watching us, and we're all loving that. And yeah, like, I don't know, everyone sort of bought into that, and every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, everyone was getting together around each other if anyone needed to talk or whatever they were doing. And yeah, even this season, he seems to be getting on all right, and seeing him on the sideline, yeah, it's just unbelievable.
I think it's one of those that, yeah, it completely brought the group tighter together, and we all tried to do as best we can for Ellis, and whatever we could do to help, we tried to do that. And like you said, Ash, I think it's class seeing Ellis on the side of the pitch, whether it's with a Guinness or not with a Guinness. It's always great to see.
Well, I'm sure you lads are putting on a smile on his face, given the way you've been playing at Scotland Lane, certainly over the last year or so. 14 straight wins it is now, Dan, over a year since you guys last were beaten at home. So, you know, internally, how proud are you of that record? And I guess the second part of the question is, how much confidence does it bring you when you arrive at the ground on Saturday, knowing that all you've tasted over the last 12 months is victory here?
Yeah, I think it's an amazing stat to have. Like, it's something that we're really proud of as a club, as in a group. So we pride ourselves that any team that comes down to Scotland Lane feels that pressure. We know up or down the hill, we know the boys to play that pitch coming up, the long drive up the lane into Scotland Lane is probably not the most favourable for some of the positions that are in more favourable positions in terms of a financial situation. But we know that that's our club and we love our club. So I'm sure there'll be a real great buzz around the club on Saturday with the old boys coming up and supporting as well. I think them and the committee are a massive part of that as well. We see them screaming on the sideline, whether it's an away trip or a home trip. So yeah, we'll get up to the club on Saturday buzzing. I'm sure it's going to be a spectacle for whoever comes and watches us versus Camborne at home.
A couple of games at home when we've been coming up to that year target, we've been making sure we've been putting that in the back of our mind and saying like we don't want to sort of lose this achievement. But yeah, it's hard. I guess when you got that sleeve, you got to play it in the right way, and it definitely favours us. Obviously, the last year, and we've done all right out of it. So hopefully, same again this weekend.
It's our patch, you know. It is Scotland Lane. It's difficult for people to come to us. You know, we know how to play it there, and I've tried multiple times to try and replicate the feeling when you go away and jump on a coach, but it's very hard to do. You know, someone said to me the other day, "What is it?" And I don't know. It's very hard to. If you could bottle it up and sell it, I'd probably make quite a fair bit of money within the rugby world. But yeah, I don't know, mate. It's a special place, and definitely, I know this weekend's going to be a tough match. Got a few boys out, but we'll be giving it our all. There's no doubt about it, because we definitely want to be pushing that out another game, mate, on the win list.
Yeah, it means a lot. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the players that play there. It means a lot to the fans, and you know, for any clubs that have been to us this season, they'll know that from the old boys singing in the bar after, and just has a really nice feel to it that people want to come and be part of. And Old Reds is a proper rugby club. You know, it's a proper rugby club. I would say achieving extraordinary things with, you know, with the financial structure and things like that we've got. And if we get us right, then I think we can beat anyone or be in a contest with anyone. You know, Camborne, a fantastic team, really enjoy previewing them, but we've got areas of our game that they don't want to defend or won't want to defend, and they've got areas of their game that other teams don't want to defend. I think like the league is just about getting yourself right and ready, and I think if we do that and we fire the shots that we know we're capable of, then we're in the contest with anyone in the league. And more so, you know, we do find it easier at home than we do away from home. Like boys seem to, yeah, that intoxicating nature of Scotland Lane, boys do seem to raise it. So yeah, you know, we're ready to welcome Camborne. We've always had great games with them. So yeah, here we go.
So a big thanks to Dan and the old Redcllffians lads for their time this week. Really, really great to hear from them and find out a little bit more about what makes them tick at Scotland Lane. And that superb home record has been really, really pivotal to that, hasn't it? And that record will be, of course, tested by table toppers Camborne in round 9. So if you're in and around the area, around the Scotland Lane vicinity on Saturday, you'll be guaranteed entertainment. It hasn't been dull watching Old Reds this season at all. We've had dramatic comebacks, we've had stunning late victories, we've had tries galore, so why not experience it for yourself at the weekend? So let's just have a look at the rest of the National 2 West fixtures then, and we start with 2 clashes involving top half side. Cinderford will be looking to return to winning ways at the first attempt when they host 4th place Loughborough. The Students ended the first part of the season with a 36-all draw against Luctonians, which meant it was no winner in October for Martin Webdale's men, and it's 6th against 2nd with Clifton entertaining Taunton in round 9. Clifton may not have wanted the weekend off last Saturday, given the run of form they've been able to stitch together in recent weeks. A 7-try win over Redroof last time out was a 3rd victory on the trot for them. So that can they pick up from where they left off against an in-form Taunton? Devonport Services versus Redroof. We've mentioned it a few times on the show this season, but Devonport have actually been in matches, been in the contest at half-time in a few games this term, but they haven't been able to convert those plus points into victory. So can they get off the mark at home against 10th place Redroof on Saturday afternoon? Exeter University versus Bourneville is one win in the last five for Exeter University, who welcome a Bourneville side who got straight back on the horse in round 8 after a 27-19 victory over Hinckley. And speaking of Hinckley, they welcome Macclesfield to Leicester Road on Saturday, and the visitors actually moved out of the bottom two in round 8. They claimed a 47-35 win over Devonport Services to continue their positive returns at home at Priory Park, but can they now translate that onto the road? Third place Luxonians will be aiming to arrest a run of no winning 3 when they host Hornets in round 9. That is easier said than done, though, as the away side will arrive at Mortimer Park having won 4 of their last 5 games following a chaotic victory, but a satisfying victory over Old Redcllffians last time out, a 46-40 win for them at the Nest. So can they continue what has been a brilliant upturn in form for Hornets on Saturday? And as we've highlighted to round things off, Old Redcllffians do entertain Camborne at Scotland Lane in one of the fixtures of the weekend. So that's it then for this week's preview show. Thanks as always for tuning in. And as I said at the start of the show, thanks for your continued support around what we do within our small media team here at National League Rugby. It really is much appreciated, whether it's a comment on a video, a like of our content, or even hitting the subscribe button. It is all taken on board. But do continue to like and share our content, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel as well if you haven't done so already. And why not give us a follow on our social media channels as well? We're seeing a good increase in the number of people following us across the board at the moment. So if you're able to support us in that way as well, that would be much appreciated too. Do check out National League Rugby's website for all the latest reviews and previews. And as we keep saying, we keep banging the drum for, it is the fastest way to find out all the results from a National League Rugby weekend. So no need to go anywhere else. Just head to our website and you can find out all the results from up and down the country. Do check out talkingrugbyunion.co.uk as well. The guys there keep on churning out unique content as well as covering National League Rugby and all levels of the game. And yeah, it's good to be back, isn't it? So thanks again for watching this week's preview, and wherever you're heading to this weekend, do make sure you enjoy your National League Rugby.